Thank you for tuning in to an episode of InRange. I'm here at Scottsdale, Arizona in front of the Axon building, formerly known as Taser. You guys would remember the Taser guys, right? Turns out the history of Taser is a lot longer than I thought. It started in the 1960s and has come up to, of course, 2020, but they're not just tasering people anymore. They're actually making a lot of different divergent products. So we're going to walk you through the history of Taser today. We're going to have some video of some guys getting tasered, get some report from them what it's like to actually get darted, but also talk about some of the other products here at Axon, such as those body cam systems and some of these networking systems and how they work on the back end.
Volunteer ready?
Ready.
Here we go. Taser, taser. There you go. There you go. Okay.
In 1969, John Jack Higson Cover Jr. developed the very first version of the Taser, named from the novel Tom Swift and His Electric Rifle. In fact, the word Taser is actually an acronym for Tom A. Swift Electric Rifle. The Taser initially used gunpowder to launch the darts, and therefore was considered a firearm by the federal government. As a result, that action ruled out a civilian market and discouraged police and military sales. Along with this issue of using gunpowder as the propellant and therefore being labeled a firearm by the BATF, the original Taser design did not have the neuromuscular disabling capabilities that the modern units do. It actually relied on pain compliance, and that really wasn't the most effective method, and we'll see later in this video that the current Tasers are very different. Here we see one of the early patent drawings from John Cover himself, and I'm zooming in right now on one of these very early cartridges as represented in this patent diagram. It's interesting to note that the inspiration came for Cover after reading a newspaper article about a man who accidentally walked into an electrified fence and survived even though he was temporarily immobilized. So in 1997, Taser produces their first consumer product, and it has nothing to do with what we think of Taser today, but it was an auto Taser, an electrified steering wheel lock/alarm, and was debuted at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, Nevada. As you can see in this little news clip, this still relied on pain compliance.
If you've ever been the victim of an auto theft like I have, this could be sweet revenge. It's called Auto Taser, and it's simple to use. You just strap it to your steering wheel, lock it down, and activate it by remote control. The only thing missing is the criminal element. For our purposes, we used Fox 4's own Alan Wong. Watch as Alan experiences a 50,000-volt jolt. A jolt the manufacturer says is not deadly, just effective.
So if I touched it, that scared me.
Touch it.
Okay. Ow! Ow! Ow!
So what's your reaction to it?
It hurts. It feels like somebody, a big giant guy, is punching you as hard as he can right in these little spots on your fingers.
Despite the CES Innovation Award and Pep Boys product line purchase, the Auto Taser was a complete catastrophic commercial failure. In 1998, things changed dramatically, and we see the development of the Air Taser. This is a unit that can be used both for contact and for launching two darts as a projectile as we think of the Taser today. And we also see a change in that this no longer depends on pain compliance, but now is using a system they call jamming the nervous system. This is the first unit we see in which they use neuromuscular disruption to cause the Taser's effect. The Air Taser also uses gas as a propellant and not gunpowder, and therefore it is not regulated as a firearm per the BATF, and is now available for commercial and civilian sales.
This is already the best birthday I've ever had.
Just wait till you see the inside of this club.
Should we hit an ATM first?
There's no need. I've got plenty of cash.
Hey, real glad to hear about that cash. Now I'll try to keep this from getting unpleasant.
Back off, mister. And I mean right now. I ain't afraid of you. Come on! I won't warn you again. Don't be stupid.
I ain't scared of you.
I'm calling the police. Let's get out of here.
This is Ed Scott. I'm in the parking lot of Club 9 with my girlfriend. We've just subdued an attacker with an air taser, and we're getting the hell out of here.
You have just witnessed the future of self-defense. No death, no injuries, no fatal mistakes. From the beginning of time, security and protection have been among the basic needs of man. Until now, safety has meant killing or injuring another human being. That is no longer the case. The Dark Age is over.
In the year 2000, we see the air taser turn into something that looks more traditionally like what we think of a taser today, the M18 and the M18L. Here you see the M18L, the L being only different from the 18 in that it has a laser sight. But this again shoots two projectiles out that cause neuromuscular incapacitation. Not pain compliance, but once again, it disrupts the neurological system of the person being shot with it and prevents them from being able to function normally. So this is the real first traditional taser that becomes very successful on the market. In 2001, Taser debuts the X26, which has pretty much become the standard in police and law enforcement. The X26 ramped up the power of the unit, but also provided something a little different called shaped pulse technology. The shaped pulse is two phases. The first phase, called the arc phase, is optimized to generate very high voltage to penetrate clothing, skin, or other barriers. It's a very short duration pulse that can arc through up to 2 inches of clothing or barriers. And once that arc is created, the air in the arc is ionized, becomes a low impedance electrical conductor that conducts the second pulse phase into the body. And the second phase of the shaped pulse is the stimulation phase, or stim phase. The stim phase does not have to arc across a barrier since it was accomplished by the arc phase. The stim phase only has to flow across the highly conductive arc from the arc phase. So in theory, this allowed for less than optimal pulse or dart deployment to cause the taser to have its desired effect. This is the display in Axon's main lobby of the X26P, showing that the X26 is still around and just much more upgraded in modern versions. They've continued to upgrade and improve the X26 model throughout their history. In 2006, they debuted the C2, a very consumer-oriented product designed to not look like a gun but still provide the features and hopefully life-saving functions of the Taser unit and its neuromuscular incapacitation capabilities.
The Taser C2 personal protection device offers a number of intuitive features for ease of use and reliability. These features include the ability to incapacitate aggressive attackers. When the trigger is pressed, 2 small probes discharge from the cartridge, and upon hitting their target, transmit electrical pulses for 30 seconds that can result in neuromuscular incapacitation for the attacker. This gives you time to escape danger. Effective range of up to 15 feet. Each probe is attached to a 15-foot insulative conductive wire that carries the electric pulse, so you can use the Taser C2 at a safe distance from your attacker. An anti-felon ID system. Serialized tracking tags, like confetti, are dispersed when the Taser C2 cartridge is deployed, providing authorities with the evidence of use and deterring criminal use of the device. A replaceable cartridge that is compact and clicks into place when loading. A trigger safety cover that slides open with the push of your thumb. This helps prevent inadvertent use. An integrated LED light that illuminates dark places for an extra margin of safety. An optional laser sight that assists in precision aim for dependable accuracy. A lithium power magazine with enough battery power for 50 or more 30-second uses. An ergonomic, easy aim design that is lightweight and just 6 inches long.
In 2007, Taser collaborates with Mossberg to make a modified shotgun firing a very specialized 12-gauge round, which is a Taser unit. It's in a completely contained Taser unit within a shotgun shell. And this, of course, extends the range of the ability of someone to tase someone, but the reality is the cost of the rounds themselves were so cost prohibitive that no one was willing to really invest in them. And while this was an interesting idea and probably effective, the truth is it never saw any adaptation, or not any extensive adaptation. If you want to see more about this, there's a video on Forgotten Weapons in which Ian goes into a deep dive about the actual development of this project. But we can mention here that this was an interesting and very difficult thing for them to design that unfortunately kind of was a failure. So with the X12 unit, you can specifically aim at an individual and tase them from quite a ways away. What happens when you want to tase everyone? You know, everyone in the area. Well, that's what you deploy the shockwave for. In 2009, Taser developed essentially a Taser Claymore. Each and every one of those green doors you see here in this picture is an individual Taser unit, and they can be deployed simultaneously for complete area denial. As I understand it, this is also something that was an experiment that really didn't see any wide adaptation or any adaptation, but it is absolutely terrifying to look at. In 2009, Taser releases its first body camera solution called the Axon, and ultimately now the name of the company, Axon. They have renamed themselves from Taser to Axon, and you see here a lot of the modern incarnations of their body camera systems. These body cameras have become the de facto standard for recording in the field for almost all law enforcement, as we see in the current media today. In 2016, Axon returns to the civilian market with the Pulse. It differs only from the law enforcement model in terms of its electromuscular interruption system in that it runs for 30 seconds straight. The standard police unit allows them to pull the trigger and deploy 5 seconds at a time over and over again. Once a civilian uses their Pulse, it goes for a standard 30 seconds, at which point the concept is you deploy it, drop it, and run or leave the scene after incapacitating your attacker. There will be future content coming about the Pulse here, and this is one unit we bought for InRangeTV specifically, so stay tuned for that. In 2018, we see the deployment of the Taser 7. This is the most advanced unit ever developed. It has the ability to have a backup shot. By just canting the Taser, you have a second Taser unit you can deploy, so you're no longer limited to only one set of darts. It also has the ability to be linked into the Axon wireless network, including even the ability for when the Taser 7 is deployed for all local Axon cameras to be immediately activated to record whatever event is going on. So here you see one of the machines on Axon's factory floor doing the pressurization of gas cartridges for Taser cartridges, which is interesting in and of itself, but what's more interesting is what we're going to get to next. A few of us who are here on this tour, we're going to get exposed at the end of the tour to actual Taser darts and going through the Taser experience. So what I'm going to bring you now is a few of us actually being hit with Tasers, and then a discussion at the end about what the experience is like.
Taser, taser.
Good job.
Taser. Taser, taser. There you go. There you go. Okay. There you go. Taser, taser, taser. Good job. Just like that.
I mean, it's not a pleasant experience.
Did a hell of a job, brother. Keep breathing. Okay.
No one else? It's a tiny little hole. The awesome thing about the T7 though is in how they have this little jig type thing. That's the thing that cartridges actually.
Is that being used as a removal tool as well?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like smart. It's like the back of a claw hammer. It's kind of
yeah,
bloop.
yeah, that's smart. Yeah.
So for a taser to actually work effectively, both probes have to be in contact with the person being shot by the taser. Optimally, you want both probes to actually penetrate the skin with the darts, but as long as there's contact with both, there will be some effect. In this exposure, we see that the individual being exposed stated that they were going to try and make a moo sound while being tased, and the fact that they were actually able to moo meant that there was a failure with both probes to contact and make a circuit.
Taser, taser. You got one probe in and one probe bounced out.
Oh.
You got a bonus.
I was like, damn.
So if it can't find a circuit, can't complete a circuit, say we said 22 pulses per second, it slows the pulse rate down to 9 pulses per second until the circuit's completed. In case we hit clothing. So have that other one stuck in his shirt. And now they just start to ease you down right away. As soon as it touches your skin, that circuit's not depleted with the other probe. It's going to ramp back up to the 22.
You're going to do great, buddy.
So it saves energy to the weapon.
And actually, because of that, a lot of times when you're watching videos of deployments in the field, if you you can actually tell a lot of times if it's a clothing disconnect by listening to what it sounds like. Because if it sounds slower, but slower.
Oh, so you had like that.
Yeah.
Something like that.
If it's a
Okay.
slower pulse. You know it's very likely a clothing disconnect.
So he got tased again, and this time you'll see that the connection was properly made.
Here we go. Taser, taser. Okay, stay down. Felt that one?
No.
Okay.
You three gentlemen have just had an exposure with the official darted taser device to your back. It just happened minutes ago, so perhaps each one of you want to give your idea of what that experience was like. From the start?
You got double tapped.
Yeah, you got double tapped. So
Yeah,
that's
so-
interesting. You have hardened skin, and the first dart didn't make a full circuit.
Apparently, or very bony, one of the two. So yeah, I got probed twice. One of the probes connected, and then the other one just kind of bounced off. So what'd they say? Like it did connect one time?
Yeah,
when
it
hit me?
bit the skin, but it didn't
Okay.
stay in.
Yeah, so it didn't really feel it. Like I was kind of confused. I wasn't sure if it was going or not as I'm dropping down. Like, okay, like not as bad as I thought. Second time was a different experience. Definitely got shocked pretty hard. So you're not moving, you're not fighting back during that. And then afterwards, like pretty instant, subsides away. And then after that, it's just listening to verbal commands. Yeah, you're pretty compliant.
So your experience was interesting in that since it didn't make the full circuit, we heard in that little after action before they darted you the second time, then in theory they could take the dart and make contact to finish the circuit if you needed to.
Right.
Not optimal, but it's something that could be done in the field if necessary.
Yep.
But when it was over, it was kind of like quickly done and over with. I mean, interesting. Steve?
Yeah, not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah.
Like I expected to like black out or something. I expected to not be sensorily aware because they say, blast your central nervous system, and that's essential for your senses.
Yep.
In addition to feeling everything, like I could hear clearly, I could see clearly. Your body just doesn't comply. Your body is like planking while you feel not on fire. It's not comfortable, definitely. But it's the mix of discomfort and you don't have control that I feel would induce the compliance. If I had full bodily control, I would absolutely be trying to like fight it off because it's painful, but it's the weirdness of I did not like that. Do not want to do that now. Made me kind of stop. And the moment it stops, like you're fine. You're absolutely fine.
You said you felt a little tense till afterwards, like your calves, for example.
Dude, calves. How many of us feel like we just biked?
That's where it like harnessed everything. It seems like that's what locked up.
And some of that is the controlled nature of what we had people guiding our upper bodies, and our legs were kind of on their own. I think that's what my legs had. The only place they had to go was like tense, clench.
The most notable thing to me was, as Dave said, you're aware of everything going on around you. So like I'm hearing people talk as at a normal time frame, but the tasing itself feels like it's just lasting forever. They said it was 5 seconds. And you're getting, 22 pulses a second? And it feels like you can just count the pulses every single time. I felt like I could feel it. I was in no shape to count. But it felt like I could have counted out, all right, that's the first second, because I just felt 22. It was very obvious every time a pulse came through. It felt like...
It's funny, so 55 times 10, or 5 times 22, right? Is 110. Ironically, being 110 volt, like... This is not that far off for me if you've ever shocked yourself with AC. It's approximately that level of pain, but anybody who's ever shocked themselves doing home wiring, you jump back right away. You get like a brief exposure. Imagine that for about 5 seconds. That is the level of like disquiet, of like, my body is not happy right now.
Pretty accurate.
Yeah.
So all of you has received essentially an experience of time dilation. Is that true?
Yes.
Kind of.
I thought it was 5 to 7 seconds. Somewhere in there.
Only because academically we got the whole briefing. I think we
Right.
knew it was 5 seconds.
Right.
If we didn't know what it was,
Very well prepared.
if you just were hit on the street and someone said, "Tell us how that happened," you're like, "Oh, that was a civilian taser. That was like 30 seconds." Yeah.
The other thing I found really interesting in learning something today is that not only does the unit deploy the amount of pulses that it needs to, that it varies based on what kind of circuit it's creating, and that the auditory response, you can hear the clicking, that it's actually giving feedback back to the user of the taser about what's actually going on to the person that's been tased.
Yeah, we learned that if it doesn't get a good hookup, but it's almost connected, it will reduce the numbers of pulses per second as it like hunts for a circuit, essentially.
Right.
Like those loud pop noises.
But you hear this, you could actually hear it change,
them.
the click will change its pace based on that.
Now having done it, would y'all do it again? Or would you recommend someone else do it? Like what would you?
I would do it again for the first time. I don't know that I would volunteer to be tased again.
Yeah, got the experience down, know what it's like. You know?
Right. If anybody out there is super hesitant, I would do it again with you if you wanted to. If that would make it happen for you, I would do it with you.
I'd like to thank my friend Deviant for inviting me along on this tour, and our mutual friend Scorche for giving us this tour. I think Axon provides a compelling argument in the world today in that technology that is actually viable for self-defense, that doesn't necessarily require the taking of a life like a firearm does, is something that's valuable and something we should be investing more into. As well as we see in the world today, Axon's body cameras are doing a lot in regards to telling us what's going on within the world of law enforcement, both the bad and the good. Guys, if you like what you see here on InRangeTV, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We're completely a crowdsourced project. We're funded only by you, the viewer. We have no sponsors and no corporate overlords. If you're not, please consider it. If you can't, I understand. Just subscribe to one of our multiple distribution points. You can find them all at InRange.tv.